Myself, Dr. Hanuman Prasad Pandey. I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, IARE, located at Dundigal. The topic that I am going to discuss is from Module 4, titled Gender-Based Violence. And the name of the topic is Say No to Sexual Harassment. And the contents that I am going to discuss as a part of this topic are Introduction to Sexual Harassment, Child Abuse, a Torture, a Trauma. Next, Sexual Harassment of Third Gender. Next, Sexual Harassment of Men. Next, Sexual Harassment of Women. Next, Laws on Sexual Harassment. Next, Quotations on Sexual Harassment. And finally, Differences. Let's look at each content in detail. The first content is Introduction to Sexual Harassment. Let's see. Female sexual harassment represents violation of the soul. So, if anybody is doing sexual harassment to female, it represents violation of the soul. Okay? So, it means sexual harassment of female represents violation of self-soul. Means you are going against your soul. So, that is what is the representation of sexual harassment of females. Male sexual harassment should not be trivialized, which means that male sexual harassment should not be made less significant. Means people are more stressing on female sexual harassment, whereas male sexual harassment is getting trivialized or is made less significant. It should not be like that, because we are dealing with gender sensitization. So there is a gender equality. Both men and women are having equal rights in the society. So both harassments should be treated equally. Okay? Then we can say that gender sensitization has been achieved to 100%. Okay? So in some contexts, the gender sensitization has to be achieved at. Okay? One of them is this sexual harassment in case of female as well as in case of male. Okay? And child abuse represents the gruesome death of innocence. Child abuse represents gruesome death. What does gruesome mean? Gruesome means it causes horror, terrific. Okay? It means that terrific. Okay? So, child abuse represents gruesome or terrific death of innocence. In case of third gender sexual harassment, some rights are delayed and more rights are denied. If it comes to the male, in case of female, it is more stressed and it is more taken into law and it is more prevented for taking actions. And in case of male, it is made less significant or it is trivialized. Okay? But in case of third gender, like half male, half female, we used to say, male but having female characteristics. So in case of those third gender, some rights are delayed and more rights are denied. Some rights are delayed and most of the rights are denied. Okay? So you can think of this, means female sexual harassment is made light, whereas male sexual harassment is made less significant or trivialized. And in case of third gender, the sexual harassment rules are denied. Okay? And some rules are delayed. The action against sexual harassment should be crippling. So what kind of action should be taken against sexual harassment? Crippling action must be taken against sexual harassment. What does crippling mean? It means very serious, very harmful action. Okay? So one must take crippling action against sexual harassment. Okay? So that is what is introduction to sexual harassment. And I hope you all understood what is sexual harassment and how sexual harassment against different gender is treated in the society. Okay? And let's move on to the next content, which is child abuse, a torture, a trauma. So child abuse is not just physical violence directed at a child. It is any form of maltreatment by an adult which is violent or threatening for child. Okay? Any form of maltreatment by whom? By an adult which is violent or threatening for child. Any form of maltreatment by the adult which is violent or threatening for child. So this is considered as child abuse. Any kind of or any form of maltreatment by an adult which is violent or threatening for the child. Okay? This is considered as child abuse. Okay? When child abuse occurs in the home and the abuse is child's abuser and the abuser is child's parent or caregiver, this is a form of domestic violence. Okay? If the child abuse occurs or takes place in the home of the child itself, either by the child's parent or by the child's caregiver or caretaker, then this will be considered as a form of domestic violence. This is considered as a form of domestic violence. Okay? And children are sometimes abused by other adults on whom they are dependent, other than parent or other than caretaker, such as day nursery workers, teachers, and sport coaches, etc. Okay? So other adults include day nursery workers, teachers, and sports coaches, etc. Okay? So they may also be the responsible for the child abuse. Okay? So it is not only by the child's parent or by the child's caretaker, it can also be by the other adults like day nursery workers, teachers, and sport coaches, etc. Okay? Sometimes abuse is intentional, but not always. Sometimes the child abuse is intentional. Intentionally they will attempt child abuse. But this is not the case always. This is not the case always. Okay, sometimes intentionally people expose or people will commit child abuse. But it is not always intentionally. So it is by unknowingly they will do. Okay. And if parents or caregivers are no longer able to cope with caring for the child, this can result in dysfunctional behavior and abuse. Even if parents or caretakers are not caring the child properly, then also it is considered as one kind of abuse. Okay? If the parents or caretakers are not properly coping up with caring of the child, means the parent of the child or the caretaker of the child is not properly caring the child, then also it is considered as one kind of abuse. Okay? It is not just maltreatment, it can be not caring also by the caretakers and parents. Okay? So this is what is about child abuse, which is a torture and a trauma. Okay? So I hope you all understood what child abuse is, and if there are any confusions, then you can raise a comment. So I hope it is clear. Now let's go to the next content, which is sexual harassment of third gender. First of all, who will come under third gender? Third gender is a concept in which individuals are categorized either by themselves or by society. So how the individuals are categorized? They are categorized by themselves or by society as neither a man nor a woman. As neither a man nor a woman. So man with woman characteristics, male with female characteristics is generally considered as third gender. Okay. So but it is categorized either by themselves or by society. How? As neither man nor woman, or neither male nor female. Okay, like that. Being a eunuch is nothing but unsexed or ungendered individuals. Unsexed or ungendered individuals. So who will be considered neither man nor woman. Okay. So this is called eunuch. Unsexed or ungendered individuals. Third gender face a lot of problems such as lack of job, lack of identity in the society. Okay, so being a eunuch, unsexed or ungendered category, they face a lot of problems like lack of job, lack of identity in our society. Okay, so they are struggling like anything. So they can't do anything, but what they were like that. So what they can do? So they should also be treated equally as far as men and women. Then only we can say even men and women are treated equally, but third gender is not treated equally. Then also we can say gender sensitization has not been achieved to 100%. So the third gender should also be treated equally. Then one can say that gender sensitization has been achieved to 100%. Okay, please take a note of this. Third gender are also being exposed to sexual harassment in our society. Okay, even though they are third gender, still they are getting exposed to sexual harassment in our society. So means the people are how immature we can think. This is due to lack of proper education, lack of proper treatment by the parents or by the caretakers. Okay, so parents must teach to their childs how to live in the society, and they must be educated in enough study. Okay, they must be educated up to enough level. They should not be left without enough education. Okay, some people may be matured within 10th standard itself. Some people may be matured within 12th standard. Some people may be matured within BSc or any degree. Some people may be matured by PG. Some people may be matured after postdoctorate, like PhD. So one should get enough educated to his maturity level. So until one becomes mature, he should continue his education. Otherwise, he will be no use. He will be of no use, or he will be of not proper guidance in the society. Okay, so one has to take care of this. Now, sexual harassment of transgender or third gender. Okay, you can call it as a transgender or third gender individuals in the workplace can be viewed as a form of discrimination under Article 14 and under Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution of India. So sexual harassment of this type of transgender or third gender individuals at workplace can be viewed as a form of discrimination under Article 14 and Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution of India. Okay, so in short, sexual harassment of transgender or third gender people is crime under Article 14 and Article 19(1)(b) of our Constitution of India. Okay, so one must respect all the genders equally. Okay, so once again I am saying, then only gender sensitization is said to be achieved to 100%. One should stop abusing third gender and accept them in the society. So one should have that much high level of maturity. One must stop abusing third gender and one must accept them in the society as par with male and female. Okay, because due to the lack of their consent, they became like that. They don't know that they were like that. So by genes or by birth, they will be like that. So one should respect, one should accept them in the society. One must not do the abuse or do the harassment of those kind of third gender. Okay, I hope you all understood about sexual harassment of third gender. Now let's look at the next content, which is sexual harassment of men. Do you think sexual harassment of men is valid, or does it occur? So many people have this question in the mind. Okay, do you think sexual harassment of men is valid, or does it occur? The answer is yes, it happens. The answer is yes, it happens. Sexual harassment of men can happen in any place, whether in a public area like schools, colleges, universities, public transport, buses, trains, or it may also occur in their private space, Okay, so where does sexual harassment of men occur? It can occur in any place, either in public area like schools, colleges, universities, or public transport like buses, trains, or it may also occur in their private space. Okay, but most of the offences of sexual harassment on men happen at the workplace. Most of the sexual harassment of men happen at workplace, mainly by co-workers and bosses. Mainly by co-workers and their bosses. Bosses in the workplace. Okay. So what does the sentence mean? The sexual harassment of men mainly occurs at the workplaces by their co-workers or by their bosses. Another problem with sexual harassment of men is that they can be harassed by both males and females. Even male are facing sexual harassment by female. So that is another problem. Okay, so harassed by both males as well as females. So this is what is about sexual harassment of men. I hope you all understood about the concept of sexual harassment of men. Now let's look at the next content, which is sexual harassment of women. Sexual harassment can be physical or a demand or request for sexual favors, making sexually colored remarks, showing unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. So what is sexual harassment in general? It can be physical or demand or request for sexual favors, making sexually colored remarks, showing unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. Okay, so this is the definition of sexual harassment. According to Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, abbreviated as EEOC, EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. According to this Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, sexual harassment includes unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature in the workplace or learning environment. So, according to Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, what is sexual harassment include? It includes unwelcome sexual advances, sexual requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature in the workplace or learning environment. So this is according to EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, for both men and women. Sexual harassment does not always have to be specific about sexual behavior or directed at a specific person. For example, negative comments about a woman as a group is also a form of sexual harassment. Okay, so it is very important to note. One should understand this very keenly. So it does not always have to be specific about sexual behavior or directed at a specific person. Okay, sexual harassment is not always specific about sexual behavior, or it is not always directed at a specific person. For example, negative commenting about particular woman as a group of men or group of women. Even women can also do the sexual harassment of women. Male can also do the sexual harassment of women. But opposite gender harassment is more significant than same gender harassment. Okay, so that is what you have to understand. So according to the perception of society, opposite gender harassment is more significantly considered than the same gender harassment. Okay, so negative commenting about particular woman as a group of men or as a group of women is also a form of sexual harassment. Okay, so don't comment negative about anyone. That will also come under sexual harassment. Please keep it in mind. Okay, so I hope you all understood about sexual harassment of women. Now moving on to the next content, which is laws on sexual harassment. What are the laws on sexual harassment? The Indian laws that exist on sexual harassment include the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act. It is made in 2013. What is the act? The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace. So it should be prevented, prohibited and redressal. Prevented means should be completely removed. Prohibited means officially it should not be done. And redressal means so correcting in a right way what is wrong. Correcting of the wrong thing in a right way. Okay, so that is redressal. Amendment we can say. Okay, so this Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention Act is came into picture on the year 2013. And the next act is, the next law is the indecent representation of women. It must be prohibited. The Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act. And previously, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act, which is made in 2013. And the indecent representation of women means representing the woman in indecent way without their knowledge. Okay, so this must be Prohibition Act. Okay, and this is made in the year 1986. Okay, and the next law which is significant is the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. So this is a Protection Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, which is made in the year 2012. Okay, so there are three acts that we have discussed. The prevention of prohibition of redressal of sexual harassment of women at workplace. This is made in 2013. And the indecent representation of women, it should be prohibited. It is the Prohibition Act, which is made in the year 1986. And the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, which is made in 2012. But there is a need for gender neutral sexual harassment law. There is a need for what? Gender neutral sexual harassment law. That is to permit persons of all gender to avail the same rules for protection against sexual harassment. Means not rules are different for different gender. So rules are in one way for female, in another way for male, in another way for third gender, like transgender. It's not like that. It should not be not like that. It should be gender neutral. Means all the gender should be availed the same rules of protection against sexual harassment. Okay, so there is a need for this kind of gender neutral sexual harassment law. Okay, so this is very important. Then only all the gender can be equally preserved. Okay, so that we can 100% or we can full-fledgedly say that gender sensitization has been achieved. In that case, if gender neutral sexual harassment law is happened, then we can say that India has achieved gender sensitization to 100%. Okay. Now, I hope you all understood about the laws on sexual harassment. Now, I will give some of the quotations on sexual harassment by the famous people. Justice Krishna Iyer said that a murderer kills the body, but a rapist kills the soul. What Justice Krishna Iyer said? A murderer kills the body, but a rapist kills the soul. Okay? Murderer kills the body, but rapist kills the soul. This is said by Justice Krishna Iyer. And Celeste NG said that if you see harassment happening, speak up. Being harassed is terrible. Having bystanders pretend they don't notice is infinitely worse. It is very important quotation. If you see harassment happening, speak up. Means if you see anywhere in your surroundings harassment is happening, or in fact to you, then speak up to avoid such kind of harassment. If you don't speak up, then people will continuously harass. They won't stop if you won't speak up. Okay? Being harassed is terrible. So being harassed without speaking is terrible. And having bystanders pretend they don't notice. Bystanders means the persons who stand near the incident, but they are behaving like it is not belonging to them, or it is not respective to them. So, but they stand near to the incident. What they feel, but they don't speak up. Okay? Then those kind of bystanders pretending they don't notice is infinitely worse. So such kind of people are more dangerous than the people who commit sexual harassment. Okay, bystanders, the people who stand near to the incident, like they are not involving in the incident. Okay, so they they are pretending like they don't notice. It is infinitely worse. It is far worse. It's far most worse. Okay, so one should speak up if the sexual harassment is happening to oneself or to the one who is surrounding him or her. Okay, and finally, Muhammad Ibrahim said that intimidation, harassment, and violence have no place in a democracy. So these things, intimidation, harassment, and violence, not at all have place in democracy. In our democracy, they don't have place. People themselves, with arrogancy, with their attitude, with a negative attitude, they are introducing into the society. So which are completely unethical, completely illegal. So one must speak up when those things are raised to avoid them. Okay, and these sexual harassment laws must be considered gender must be gender neutral for all the types of gender. It is not like one kind of gender is predominantly considered or other kind of gender is ignored. It's not like that. It should be gender neutral. Okay, and one must be well educated in order to avoid this kind of harassment on sexual harassment on men or women or third gender. Okay, so one must be well matured in order to understand all these things in our society. Okay, so I hope you all understood what are the quotations that I have discussed on sexual harassment, and the references I have followed are Gender Studies by Kadambari and Gender Sensitization by Rajalakshmi Kalyan. Thank you very much for all of your kind attention.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.